Hey up, folks. What the hell happened in Venezuela? That's a question that a lot of people are asking, and I'm going to try and provide an answer tonight. I think what happened in Venezuela was not by itself an American attack. I think it was a coup d'etat within Venezuela with the aid of the United States. Why did the coup mongers want the Americans to help get rid of President Maduro? Basically, I think so that they could appear as being men and women with clean hands. Maduro has friends and allies in the country, and the people who got rid of him can now, with their best poker faces, say nothing to do with me, Gov, or the Spanish version thereof. What makes me reach that conclusion? Well, first of all, Maduro was in a compound inside a military base that was incredibly well defended in theory. In practice, hardly anybody put up any resistance to the American attack. The Americans, for their part, knew exactly where Maduro was and made their way virtually unopposed to his compound. There was some resistance by his Praetorian Guard, but not very much, well, nothing from the regular army that were essentially the first line of defense. That could not have been done unless somebody very senior in the Venezuelan elite was able to negotiate this deal, I suppose you would call it, with the United States. Now, once the Americans left, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was sworn in as acting president. Now, she has made the usual demands condemning the American invasion, but she's the woman in charge. And I suspect that she was the one who negotiated the deal with the United States. Now, what that deal was, I'll look at in a moment. But let's just consider why I think this was a coup rather than a genuine American invasion. The first thing is that in 2024, July 2024, a man named Edmundo Rodriguez won Edmundo Gonzalez won the presidential elections. Now, needless to say, Maduro did not accept that and he stayed in power. Um, Gonzalez was then, well, basically harassed and threatened by government forces, and he took refuge in Spain. So he's out of it. There was a woman, um, her name is Maria Machado, who was not allowed to stand in the election. And had she stood, I'm sure she would probably have won. She was in hiding in Venezuela, being hunted by Maduro's forces until about 2 weeks ago, when the Americans very generously arranged for her to leave Venezuela and go to Oslo as to receive her, I suppose, to receive her Nobel Peace Prize. Having arranged for her to leave the country, The Americans did not arrange for her to return. So she is going to find it very difficult to claim the presidency. In fact, it's obvious the Americans don't want her anywhere near the presidency of Venezuela because when she congratulated Donald Trump on removing Maduro, the response of the United States was incredibly dismissive towards her. Uh, Trump just basically said she wasn't strong enough to govern the country. And that was why they were not going to install her as president. Yes, proof, yet more proof if you need it, that there's only one thing worse than being America's enemy, and that is being America's friend, or even worse, America's stooge, because they will dump you when you've served your purpose for them. That's not the case with the gang that is in power. Now, what do we think is the arrangement between the United States and the government headed by Delcy Rodriguez? Well, we know the answer to that. We know that the Americans have been in touch with the Chinese and have told them that oil from Venezuela will continue to flow unhindered to China. Um, we know that the government of Venezuela, the new government of Venezuela, headed by Rodriguez, uh, have said that the American oil companies that were nationalized by the previous regime will be allowed back into Venezuela. So basically, the gang carry on running the country, and America gets its oil companies back into Venezuela. Venezuela probably will adopt a more neutral position vis-a-vis the United States and China, or the United States and Russia. And in return, the Americans will just leave them alone. They can govern the country as they want. They can arrest whomsoever they want. They can pretty much do as they want, so long as it's all within Venezuela and they don't interfere with the American oil companies. Cynical? Yes. But that's the way the United States operates. Now, here's the thing. Who's next? The Americans have dealt with one problem in Venezuela, they think. Who's next? People are saying next is Colombia. I don't believe it. Some people believe that next is Mexico. That's possible. But more likely, the Americans will want another easy victory. And the easiest victory that I can think of after Venezuela is Greenland. Greenland is a self governing Danish territory. Denmark is an ally of the United States. None of that will matter. The Americans, I think, probably this year or next year, will just send a couple of thousand troops to Greenland and raise the stars and stripes and annex it. And then they will say to the Danes, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, we're in that stage of international relations again, when the strong do as they please and the weak do as they must to survive. I think after Greenland, it will be Mexico's turn. Yeah, I've got family in Mexico, rather a lot. I am not looking forward to that day, but it is surely coming. The Americans are going to do what the Russians and the Chinese already do. And they're not even going to feel at the slightest bit of embarrassment. You think on, folks.